Hello everyone, welcome to your pick a card reading. Today's reading is going to be about navigating Mercury retrograde, which I know we all mostly find to be very frustrating, and there's a lot of do's and don'ts. So this reading is going to focus on how best to clearly communicate, since Mercury aids in communication. It is the planet of communication, right? So I've chosen stones that focus a little bit on communication. You've got lapis lazuli here, aragonite, and a rose quartz. So just take a moment, choose whichever card pile speaks to you. They've all got the Enchanted Map Oracle. Card pile number 1 uses the Light Seer's Tarot. Card pile number 2 uses the Witch's Tarot. And card pile number 3 uses the Tarot of the Hidden Realm. So choose your deck and we will get into your reading. Hello, card pile number 1. You're here because you chose the Light Seer's deck and the Lapis Lazuli stone. So as usual, I'm going to start with the stone. This is actually a lapis egg, and I find it to be very beautiful just because of the layers in there. There's gold, there's blue, there's white, and it's just almost like you're looking up at the clouds. And that's something that I think needs to be addressed in this Mercury retrograde, is how high your head is in the clouds, right? Because something that lapis is really good for is truth, and it's also good for self-awareness, confidence, clarity. So I think there's going to be a moment during this retrograde where you need to really be honest, not only with others, but with yourself. So we're going to get into the cards and see what that's all about. I'm going to start with the Enchanted Map Oracle. So we have here Sad Embrace and Protecting Treasure, which is really interesting. And the first thing I really want to do here is just get into the tarot and pull this all together, because it's a really interesting energy I'm getting here. And so first things first, we have the Ten of Cups, and then we have the Magician. We have the Knight of Pentacles, the Moon, Eight of Cups, Eight of Swords, and then we also have Six of Swords. So one of the first things I'm getting here is, don't be afraid to move into something new. I know one of the big things about Mercury retrograde is everyone just goes, oh my God, don't start anything new because it won't last. But if this has been something that's kind of been in the works for a long time, I don't really see any harm in that, as long as you have a goal in mind, for one thing, but you really examine what it is that you want and where you're going. So this does kind of give me a feeling that the retrograde might be a little difficult for you, with Sad Embrace and Protecting Treasure here. It might make you worry that you're going to lose something, and you need to keep all your cards close to your chest. But what you also need to keep in mind is what you think about is what you bring about. So be careful of what it is you're actually manifesting here, because if you're just too worried and too focused on what is restricting you, what's holding you back, you might not actually move forward. You might be moving backwards, and that's not the direction you want to go. What I'm getting here is that you might be one of those people who ends up hearing from an ex or an old friend or someone you've cut off for a while ago, someone that you left behind and thought you moved on from. And you do really need to take a close look at whether or not you want this person back. You do need to focus on your intuition and listen to it, and don't really fall for things that seem like they're too good to be true, because the Moon also brings back a lot of illusions. I think especially when it comes to a person coming back during the retrograde, like I almost get, it's weird because normally it's the Six of Cups, then that's the nostalgia card, but for Ten of Cups, to me, these two almost are remembering childhood together. And I know that's a weird energy to get from the Ten of Cups because the Ten of Cups is your bliss, right? This is a really weird message from you. It definitely, the energy I'm getting here is take it slow. Have a plan, whether or not it takes you a while to figure it out. Just kind of have a direction. It's definitely interesting here because the way that the cards have come out here, protecting treasure, like this is what you want to protect. Everything good. You want to protect your bliss, your family, the things that you love. You want to protect your manifestation, your power, because the magician has all the suits. He has all the aces. You want to protect that and hold on to it and make sure you don't lose it. And over here inside Embrace, we've got it. This is self-hindrance. Like this is, she's looking at the mirror. She's bringing this on herself. And she could easily look away and move on, but she can't see through everything bad that she believes is happening. So there's almost a sense here of don't sink into the negative, protect your bliss, protect your treasure. Because, I mean, there's so much, even with the moon and the cups here, like she's sinking into those emotions, but here she's walking out. But walking out also means leaving behind all of the cups that you had and going in search of the good, but maybe what you already had was good, I'm feeling. It's just a weird duality I'm feeling here, especially with the Six of Swords as the last card being at the end. When it comes to this retrograde, I think the biggest thing you need to be focusing on is not letting yourself sink into negative self-talk, because that's not how you move forward. And don't be so focused on rushing to the end, like, oh, when is this going to be over? No, we can't rush it. Things happen in their own time. So, yeah, definitely, especially with the stone here, you need self-awareness. You need to realize, as awful as it sounds, what you're doing to yourself by staying in a negative mindset. Because, like, these two cards, the way they're sat here, they're at odds. They're both separate, right? Their backs are turned to each other. This is definitely kind of a split thing. Like, there's this half of you who is just sunken and sad and just things are terrible, losses everywhere. But then there's also this part of you who wants to see the good, who has the hope, who sees what could be and knows there are still good things out there. So this is an interesting duality that I'm picking up on here. I think at the end of the day, no matter which way you go, you're obviously going to make it out, but ultimately it's up to you as to how difficult you make this retrograde on yourself. Yeah. Focus on the good. Things get better. And retrograde doesn't last that long for Mercury. So be honest with yourself. Be honest with others. Remember that you are enough. And just be self-aware of your behaviors and maybe your negative thought patterns. Okay? Thank you very much, card number 1. If you found value in this, please drop a like down below. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. I do upload videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week. And I really hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Hello, card pile number 2. You're here because you chose the Witch's Tarot and the Aragonite Stone. And I'm going to start as usual by showing you your stone. This is really interestingly textured stone for one thing. There's lots of facets to it. There's lots of, here we go. There's still sparkle in there, but there's a lot of solid towers kind of building out into it. Aragonite is a good stone to foster truth. It does aid in clarity of the mind, and it also is good for providing insight into difficult situations. And when we think of Mercury retrograde, I think we all just kind of tense up and worry about difficult situations. So we're going to get right into your cards and we'll see what your message is. I'm going to start with the Enchanted Map Oracle. We have here Spirit of Place and Commitment. And I think the first thing I get off of that is trying to ask your intuition and listen and see, am I ready for this commitment? We're going to jump into the tarot and see what this is all about. You have Eight of Cups, the card of walking away. Are you ready? Do you really want to do this? Is this for me? Kind of card. The Emperor. You've had a plan. You've been thinking about it. Fierce leader, decisive action. But again, is this for me? The Moon. There's a lot of uncertainty I'm getting here just right off the bat. And that's definitely something I would expect in Mercury retrograde as well. Knight of Wands. It's like you're almost rushing yourself to pick an answer, I want to say. Nine of Pentacles. And Five of Swords. Yeah, there's a lot going on here right now. And as we all know, Mercury retrograde is always said to just be one of the times that this isn't a good moment to actually commit to something. This isn't the time to really start anything new. Yeah, there's so much uncertainty. I'm not even sure where to begin, which is it's a really weird feeling for me. If this is how you're feeling, I am sorry, because this is horrible. I'm like trying to find the words, and that's the essence of Mercury retrograde, isn't it? You can't find the words to express how you really want to feel because everything is just so muddled. It's so confusing, and just you're stuck in your own emotions. You're stuck trying to listen to your own intuition. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of illusion, and you don't want to get this wrong. Especially with the Emperor showing up here. I feel like you're the kind of person who wants to take action, who always knows how to take action and leads others to the cause. I feel like you're worried you're rushing in a little too hastily, especially with this Knight of Wands. And if you aren't, this is a warning not to. This pile almost feels like the embodiment of Mercury retrograde. Read through your contracts. Be clear in all your communication. Don't rush forward. Don't just guns blazing head right into it. But also, I'm getting with this Nine of Pentacles. There is something good going to be coming out of this. There is going to be some abundance coming out of this. Kind of the fruits of your labors. And there's definitely a feeling here of not giving away too much of yourself. Keeping what you need, but still being generous, right? But there's an awful lot going on in your head right now. And maybe not even necessarily in your head. Maybe there's some sort of promotion at work and there's a lot of people vying for it. And there's just so much conflict, and I'm feeling a little bit of negativity here. This is not really the message I want to be giving you, because this isn't really telling me how you get through it. It's more telling me, it definitely feels like a warning of sorts, like just to not rush into things. I think also kind of delve deep into your own emotions and your own intuition and figure out what is really going on in this situation. I want a couple more cards on this, if I'm being honest. What else do we have here? For card pile number 2, I'm getting through this Mercury retrograde. Give me some advice, the best course of action for them to take, please. No, I don't want that one. Okay. I prefer to let the cards jump out. That's just my way of reading, so sometimes it takes a little longer, and I apologize. 4 of Swords, definitely, I guess what I've been saying, just take a step back. Take a little rest. Don't go forward until you're absolutely certain of what it is you're going for. Bottom of the deck is the High Priestess. Definitely follow your intuition. If something feels off, there's a reason for that. You want at least one more card. I hate that this one is kind of the embodiment of Mercury retrograde. Like, okay, tap the brakes. This isn't going to be easy. No. One more card, please. Death. So there is transformation. There's a little bit of change. Something is still, I think, going to change for you. It doesn't feel like a necessarily easy transition, unfortunately. But that's kind of, I think, the point of don't rush into things. Definitely take your time. And I also want to say don't get too caught up in the fight. Whether it be a mental struggle or with other people, any conflict, kind of keep your own counsel is what I'm getting here. Don't allow other people's opinions or thoughts to sway your own, because ultimately you want to make sure what you're doing is best for you, and other people can't necessarily tell you what it is that is going to be best for you. Only you can really figure that out. So take your time, take a little bit of rest. Don't be afraid of the change, but don't engage in any sort of conflict that arises from it. Yeah, that's the message I have for you, card pile number 2. If you have found any value in this video, please leave a like down below. If you would like to see more, I upload videos Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays every week. So you can subscribe, hit the bell so you get the notification, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Best of luck. Hello, card pile number 3. Welcome to your Pick a Card reading. You're here because you've chosen the Tarot of the Hidden Realm deck and the Rose Quartz. So I'm going to go in as usual and show you the stone that you've chosen. This is a stone that I've had for quite a while. I love Rose Quartz. It's definitely a stone full of loving energy, but it also makes sure that you communicate from the heart, and I think it's a stone that helps you lead with compassion and bring about empathy. So we're going to go into the cards and figure out what that means for you in transitioning through this Mercury retrograde. And I'm going to start with the Enchanted Map Oracle cards. We have here the Wizard of Awareness and Moonlight. So the first thing I'm getting here is you need to be a little self-aware of the way you speak to people, or it could be the other way around. Be a little bit more aware of how people speak to you. Definitely realize that you're being sent messages right now, because there is an owl on this card. Owls are known to be messengers for sure, and yeah, there's self-awareness here. And I'm just going to go into the tarot and figure out this message here. We start off with Temperance. And then we have the Queen of Cups. Life Renewed, which is equated to the Judgment card in traditional tarot. Page of Cups. the Empress, and then Eight of Swords, which is an interesting note to end on here with the tarot. Yeah, there's definitely the best way for you to get through this retrograde is to be aware of the message that your words send. Make sure that you're realizing that times aren't hard just for you right now. Times are a little hard for everyone. So even if it's just about the way someone is speaking to you now, this isn't making excuses for being a terrible person. When like others are being cruel. But an important thing to remember is everyone is fighting their own battles and they're all different from ours, right? Everyone's got their own thing to focus on. So there has to be, no, I'm not saying just be a doormat and take it either. There's got to be a little bit of balance in this with temperance. There has to be kind of a merging of being compassionate, being empathetic, but also not being taken advantage of. I think I'm feeling that you've been holding back a lot lately with this Eight of Swords. Maybe you've been bottling up your emotions. Maybe you think people don't want to hear what you have to say or don't like you for who you are. Maybe your message isn't good enough. That's not what the rest of these cards are saying. Queen of Cups is typically a very loving and nurturing woman, or person, I should say. She has her cup right here. She knows exactly what's in it. She's very emotionally aware. And I'm thinking the message here is you need to be a little bit more open with the Page of Cups. Offer a little bit more of yourself in your relationships, whether it's friendships or family, or even like romantic relationships, whether they're new or old, whatever it is. It's Judgment, Life Renewed is sometimes seen as the path you're supposed to take. In this deck, it's kind of being offered a gift from the universe, but what I'm getting here is there also needs to just be a bit of an awakening within yourself, a little bit more self-awareness, a little bit more of recognizing the impact that your words have or could have, because again, there's a lot being held back here. And Eight of Swords is just a card of self-limitation. So it's not that anyone else is holding you back. You're holding yourself back, which doesn't really, it usually doesn't equate to abundance, does it? Like holding yourself back means you never move forward. And if you can't move forward, how can you bring about change and abundance that you really want, that you really need, that you deserve? So I think the other thing that needs to come to light here is just that you need to be aware of how you're speaking to yourself as well. Mercury retrograde. Mercury in general is communication. It's the way we speak to others, but it's also the way we speak to ourselves. And this has a lot to say, this spread. There's a lot that needs to be let out. I want a couple more cards. Is this in regards to anything in particular or just in general? Maybe this is one of those things where you need to, and I hate to say it because Mercury retrograde encourages people to come back into our lives that in some cases we've cut out for a reason, in other cases that we've just grown apart from, and maybe they're thinking about you now. But in what I find mostly is people are going back to their exes, and I'm worried here that this is something you're thinking of doing, and maybe it wasn't necessarily a great relationship, or maybe you regret the way things ended, maybe you regret the way that you spoke to them. I just want to find more. Five of Swords. interesting because card file number 2 had that as well. This one, Ace of Swords. There's definitely a conversation that needs to happen here. Are y'all thinking about texting an ex? I gotta ask. 2 of Cups. It's Ace of Swords is new, it's new communication. 5 of Swords is conflict, and whether that's within you or with another person remains to be seen, although part of me feels like it's with you. There's definitely some of you where this is going to resonate, where you're thinking about texting an ex, and you're not sure whether or not you want to do it. You got me hooked now. I gotta see just a couple more. That's a lot of cards. The first one that catches my eye, though, the Blasted Beach, also the Tower. If this is a conversation you need to have with another person, they're not expecting it, or you're not going to expect their reaction. So just be aware of that. The Hierophant, 5 of Wands, 10 of Wands, Knight of Pentacles, 7 of Wands. I mean, those of you who are thinking about reaching out to an ex, I almost want to say don't. I mean, 5 of Wands is another one of those cards of conflict, right? But it's also competition in some cases. Maybe you're hoping that if they're with someone else, you can win them back. If they're with someone else, I get here from the original cards that I've drawn that there's a lot of emotion that's been building within you, and you've got to get it out, and you've been holding on to it for quite a while. I'm almost feeling that this is more or less something you need to heal from. This is something you've been carrying for quite a while. 10 of Wands, it's a large burden. And Knight of Pentacles, I think you've been hoping that in time things will get better. Things will be how you want to be. And if it's in regards to another person, maybe you're hoping that, well, if I come back right, things will be okay. But they're still gonna be guarded. They're gonna be doing what they feel is best for them. And the same should be said for you. Do what you feel is best for you. But I'm not sure if going back to this person is necessarily a good idea. I do have to say, ultimately the decision is up to you. Clearly this has been something that you've been holding in for a while, and there is a lot of emotion here. Queen of Cups, Page of Cups, the Empress. Like, I'm worried about these swords. It's 8 of Swords, 5 of Swords especially, just fighting. I'm not sure the conversation is going to go the way you want it to go, especially also with the Tower here. Yeah, I kind of get the feeling this person might be a little blindsided by it. And you're not necessarily going to get the reaction that you choose or want. If this isn't for you, I do think letting go of the idea of being more open as a person is something you need to let go of. I think you do need a new way of thinking. I think if you do this, it'll bring about some change, maybe not in the way you anticipate it being, but it might bring a little bit more closeness in your relationships. You might find people are actually clamoring for your attention, and this might set you on edge, but ultimately it might be something that you need to do for what's best for you. And yeah, there's definitely some kind of change in relationships, change in the way you look at yourself. You need to be aware of what your actions are doing to not only you, but to others. There's definitely some self-awareness that needs to happen here, but do it with compassion, do it with empathy, do it with love. I think ultimately That is the best advice I can give you. Just communicate honestly, communicate empathetically, communicate compassionately. And maybe don't text your ex. Just saying. Okay? That's what I have for you, card pile number 3. If you found any value in this, please leave a like down below. If you'd like to see more, I upload videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays every week. So hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for the notifications when I do upload a new video. And take care of yourselves. Best of luck navigating this Mercury retrograde. Bye.